Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 8 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a recent promo or teaser that was released for the second half of Season 8. Now, they already released one promo for the second half right after the mid-season finale. However, they released another one just recently. So, as always, we're going to look at it and I'm going to be breaking it down for you guys. So the first thing that we see is this shot of a burning Alexandria, and in a distance we can see what looks to be Carl and Michonne carrying Carl out from a house, or it looks like maybe they're just carrying him around. And obviously because Carl is bit, he is very weak, so maybe he doesn't have the strength to walk himself. So that's basically what that's about. And we already got like a snapshot of this scene or a still of this scene a couple weeks ago because they released some promotional photos for the second half. So that still shot that we got is definitely related to this here. And then we get a closer look at Michonne, Carl, and Rick here. Obviously, Michonne and Rick look broken. They look very sad, which is obviously expected. And we have Carl, who's not in very good shape. Maybe he looks even worse than he did in the mid-season finale. So this just basically shows that Carl is getting more sick. So he's not healing. So for those of you that predict that he's going to get better, it doesn't look like it. Then we have this shot of Daryl giving a sign to someone, and it looks like they're trying to be very quiet. Maybe they're trying not to be detected by saviors, or maybe there's walkers around. We do know, based on some promo photos and based on the first trailer for the second half, that there will be a herd at Alexandria or close to the vicinity of Alexandria initially, and Daryl, Rosita, Sadiq, Rick, and Michonne will be trying to fight off the walkers before they get into Alexandria. So this might be related to that. Then we have another shot here of Daryl. Rosita is right next to her, and we see Tara in the back there as well. Dwight can be seen in the background as well. I'm not sure if you guys can see that well with this footage here, but Dwight is definitely in the back there. And there's some other people there. They don't look like saviors, but they don't look like people we've seen either. So maybe they're just Alexandrians, but it definitely looks like they're shocked to see something, specifically Daryl. So maybe this is where they see more herd of walkers, or maybe they see some saviors. Then we have this shot of Maggie. Now I don't know where this is. It looks to be back at the hilltop, but you know, you can't necessarily say because there's that structure in the back that I don't recognize. Then we have this shot again at the hilltop. We have Maggie there. We have Diana, the member of the kingdom there. We have some Alexandrians, and we do have Jerry in the back. So it definitely seems like Jerry was able to get away from the saviors, and he's safe at this point. And they're all back at the hilltop, and maybe they're trying to think of a plan to get back at the saviors, and maybe even at that point they know what happened to Alexandria, so they're making up a plan to go there and help out.
The saviors are coming.
We have Enid talking to Michonne, saying the saviors are coming. Now what's very interesting is that they are at the hilltop, and Michonne was last seen at Alexandria. So do they make it back to the hilltop or not? And it seems like there is a school bus in the back there as well. So that school bus most likely came from Kingdom, and it most likely carries all of the members of the Kingdom that were able to run away from there when the saviors attacked there. So it seems like a good portion of the survivors are going to be located at Hilltop now. And by what Enid says, it seems like the saviors are going to be coming back. However, maybe this is the safest place to be because Alexandria is burnt down. We have Kingdom occupied by the saviors, so maybe the hilltop is the most safe place to be at the moment. But it seems like the saviors will definitely be coming to hilltop as well, so maybe there will be some sort of other conflict or another altercation between them at the hilltop. Then we have this shot of Negan in front of some saviors. This looks to be at the sanctuary, but it seems to be around the sanctuary, not necessarily in the sanctuary itself. And obviously there's a fence there, and there's some walkers that are chained to the fence. And if you watched my other video, I predict that this has something to do with Negan trying to use the walkers to weaponize the tools or other weapons that he has, so that he doesn't necessarily have to kill the survivors. He can just shoot them and they will be infected by the virus, much like what he did in the comics. So this seems to be a direct replication of that. Then we have this pretty cool shot of Negan. Obviously, this is inside the sanctuary, and he's sitting at the meeting table. We have Lucille there on the table as well. And we will fight them. We have a scene of Michonne and Rick, maybe scavenging around, maybe looking to kill walkers, maybe trying to find some saviors, but Michonne is heard saying we're going to find them. Maybe she's referring to saviors, maybe she's referring to walkers. It's difficult to tell, but we do know that this is most likely not at Alexandria, so this is most likely around the Alexandria safe zone, or maybe somewhere else entirely different. We have some walkers here, and we have Morgan trying to attract the walkers and maybe trying to lead them somewhere. Now we do know that Morgan is trying to help Ezekiel escape, so this is most likely close to the kingdom itself, and Morgan is trying to direct the walkers towards the saviors that are currently at the kingdom and maybe find an opportunity to get Ezekiel out. Then we have this very interesting shot of Eugene. He's holding a bullet, so it looks like he's definitely going to be following his comic story arc and making some bullets for Negan and the Saviors. We have Negan in the background saying, "My people, they're coming," and it seems like he might be talking to Rick, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. But what's very interesting is we have Simon here with Dwight, and they're looking at a flipped out car getting burned. It seems to be around the sanctuary. Maybe this is even a flashback, because this might be right after the vehicles blew up in the first episode of season 8. And that might explain why Dwight is there, because other than that, it doesn't make sense for Dwight to be with the Saviors, because we do know Laura, who's one of the Saviors, ran away. And she knows that Dwight is the Snake. So if she makes it back to the sanctuary and tells Negan and the Saviors, then it's going to be very difficult for Dwight to still be with the Saviors, because at that point, I don't think the Saviors are just going to let him be there. They're going to want to kill him. So this is either a flashback, which I'm predicting it is going to be, or it's going to be a scenario where Dwight or another survivor is going to find Laura and kill her before she gets to the sanctuary. You're coming. And then the part where Negan says, "My people, they're coming," is basically syncing up with this shot here. Now, this looks to be inside some sort of house or whatever. Now, what's interesting is that the way he speaks, it seems like he's playing some sort of cat and mouse game with whoever he's talking to, most likely Rick. So it's very likely that they're trying to talk to each other, to try to distract each other and try to get the upper hand on the other. And we do see in a later shot Rick in a similar kind of setting talking to someone else, most likely Negan. So those two scenes are most likely related. So we have Negan and Rick at some point in this building together. We have this very interesting shot of Dwight running away. Now I think this is related to another shot that we're going to see coming up with Tara holding Dwight at gunpoint. So it seems like there's still some animosity between Dwight and Tara, and it seems like Tara is not just going to let Dwight be. She's not going to rest until she kills Dwight. She repeatedly told Daryl to kill Dwight. Daryl didn't do that, and it seems like maybe Tara is going to take things in her own hands and do what needs to be done in her opinion and kill Dwight. We have this shot of Daryl pointing his crossbow at someone. Maybe some Saviors, maybe walkers, maybe even Dwight. Maybe the shot with Dwight running away is connected to this. We have this shot of Morgan with his bow staff. We have Siddiq and Daryl in some sort of swamp or something, and there's walkers coming out of the water. And we got another photo from this scene as well. This is most likely related to what I was talking about before with the herd coming to Alexandria. It's already too late. We have this shot that I was talking about with Tara pointing the gun at Dwight's head, holding him at gunpoint, and Dwight doesn't look so happy about it, but it definitely seems like something is going to happen with Tara and Dwight. It seems like we haven't seen the end of that.
This is where you die.
And then the other part that I was talking about with Rick saying it doesn't matter, this is the part where you die. And this is most likely him talking to Negan. And again, he's in the same sort of building that Negan was in, talking to someone earlier on in this promo. So those two seem to be related. So I think that this is most likely Rick talking to Negan, Negan talking to Rick. They're trying to distract each other. They're trying to get under each other's skin so that they can get the upper hand on the other person. We have this shot of Michonne killing some walkers. If you look at the wall in the back and the support, it seems to be right in front of the gates. So it seems like the walkers are most likely going to get that close to Alexandria, even breach the walls, as we saw in the other teaser. We have this shot of Rosita in the same sort of swamp area that we saw Siddiq and Daryl at. And she is basically fighting off a walker here. We have this interesting shot of Simon at the location where the heapsters or the scavengers are. He's basically face to face with Jadis. We haven't seen those two interact before, so this is going to be very interesting to see. I don't think that Simon is going to be doing what Rick did or even what Negan did. I don't think that Simon is playing any games. So he's not going to play along with any of Jadis' stupid games. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens between those two. Now, the other thing that makes it very interesting is the clue that we have. Because if we go back to the first episode of Season 8, there was a scene where Negan tells Simon, are we backsliding? And if you've been watching my predictions and my discussion videos, I predict that in the past, before Oceanside broke down, when they still had all of their males, Simon was the savior that went there and killed the men by shooting them in the back of the head. And that's what pissed Negan off, which led to, there being some sort of tension between Negan and Simon, which is what Negan referred to in the first episode when he said, are we backsliding here? So if that was Simon, then I could definitely see it being a possibility that Simon is going to come to the heapsters or the scavengers and just kill them all because they are too much of a problem now. We do see some people in the back. I don't think those are scavengers. They don't look like scavengers. They're definitely saviors. So it seems like Jadis is not going to be able to play her stupid game with Simon. So I'm very interested to see this scene come to life and to see what Simon does and how he plays along with Jadis' stupid games. Then we have this shot of Rick. He is sitting down next to most likely Carl's grave. So that's going to be very interesting, very emotional to see coming up. This is most likely from the first episode back from the mid-season premiere. But we do know that Michonne is also there based on another teaser that we got. Now what's interesting is that there's another grave there. I'm not sure who that might be. I don't think this is at Hilltop, so I don't think this is Glenn or Abraham. It might be, but it just seems very odd. So this is most likely at Alexandria, and that's most likely Carl's grave. Now, possible that they brought Carl back to Hilltop and buried him there. It's possible, but with the bad shape that Carl was in, I don't think that's very likely. However, I could be reading into it a little bit too much, and they could have taken Carl back to Hilltop and buried him there. And the other things I talked about with Rick being at the gravesite at Alexandria might all be false. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. However, now that I think about it, there's another scene right at the end with Enid crying, and I think that might actually kind of connect. Because if they are taking Carl back to the Hilltop, then it makes a lot of sense for that scene to play out. Because obviously Carl is going to be coming back, and he's in very bad form, and Enid is obviously going to see him in that shape and start crying. So maybe those things are connecting that way. We have a quick shot of Maggie holding the weapon to someone. Maybe she's pointing it at another POW. Maybe she's going to shoot them just like the other prisoner of war. So that's going to be very interesting to see. And then we have this shot of Enid crying, which I just mentioned. And this definitely seems to be at the hilltop. So maybe Carl does make it to hilltop and that's where he dies, or that's where he's put down. And that's what leads to Enid crying here. And then we have this shot of Rick in the back with some flames. So this is most likely at Alexandria. But that's basically everything we got for this teaser. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.